tried wearing a jacket, but it's too hot in here. There's no script for this video, I'm just winging it. Based on personal experience, things I've seen, things I've observed. You guys have been on a kick of drama videos. It's amazing how many similar archetypes there are in the people involved. No, screw it, let's try wearing it. It looks pretty cool, I think. Is it too big? It's too big? I don't know. Let's get this done quick, because I'm melting. Professional victims! Let's talk about them for a bit. What is a professional victim? Well, a professional victim is someone who is able to avoid accountability by making themselves look like the victim in the situation. Oh, you don't want to be reprimanded? Victim. Oh, you don't want to be held accountable for something you did to somebody? Victim. Oh, somebody's trying to call you out on something that you did. Victim. Here is the inherently difficult thing when dealing with victims, or professional victims, I guess. The reason why it is difficult to expose a professional victim is because they put themselves in a position of vulnerability. They present themselves as the victim in the situation, even though they definitely played a part in it, which means any criticism, any language they get that is detracting from their perspective and from what they're trying to say and from their position is inherently punching down and can be seen as bullying or harassment, because how dare you attack them? You have any idea what they've been through? It's amazing, right? Wow, now no one can question them ever because they're already so far below. They're so depressed, so sad, so hard done by. You couldn't possibly question them. How could you be so crass? Victim blaming? Really? Now, we do have some examples that we can draw from on the internet. Don't we? Everybody, welcome my first guest to the show. Probably the most successful professional victim ever. Boog2988. Welcome to the show, Boogie2988. Nice to have you. Nice to have you. Good to see you. That's a lie. I'm lying to your face. Boog, can you tell me how you've managed to survive this long with almost no discernible talents or abilities or skills?
And I hate being alive! I hate being alive! I hate breathing! I hate being alive! I'm in tremendous pain! I'm in tremendous pain! Help me! Help me! Help me!
Interesting. Now, as you heard from Boog2988 there, if you have no shame, if you are not opposed to completely debasing yourself, presenting yourself as degraded as humanly possible, then there are no depths to how far you can go in order to get sympathy out of somebody. Like, imagine going over to someone and be like, hey, you! I heard what you said did. I heard what you said did to that person thing. And then they get down on their knees and they start crying. You're like, don't think that crying is gonna stop me from making you apologize for what you did and admit. And now they're on the floor. Now they're wretched, they're dry heaving and crying. Right? They're still going. It's like the crying didn't work. Let's go further. Oh God, look, you're on the floor and you're dry heaving, but I still need you to admit what you did and apologize to it. But they're not done. They have no shame. They have no limit to how far down they will go to make sure that they can wriggle out of their responsibility by degrading themselves. So now they've pissed their pants, and their parents are dead, and their dog's been killed, and they've got a terminal illness that they're dealing with. Right, Boog? Isn't that right? Isn't that what you did, buddy? Yeah, he did that. So there you are, all piss and vinegar. You kick down the door. Yes, I'm wearing skate shoes and workout shorts. And you're like, hey, you! Right? As we started this little skit before. But now they're peeing their pants. And dry heaving and crying. Prostrate. Look it up. And now everyone's looking at you! Because now you're the asshole! How dare you! Try and hold someone so pathetic accountable. Can't you see that they've suffered enough already? So now everyone's looking at you, even though this sniveling worm is the one that's responsible, and they definitely had a hand in what happened to them. They definitely did. They knew the risks. They knew what they were doing. They just got caught. And instead of being like, yeah, I did it, I'm sorry, they instead are now on the floor peeing themselves, dry heaving. So now you can't even have a conversation about it to try and get some justice out of it. Now everyone's looking at you. You're the asshole. How dare you reduce this person to whatever it is they've become on the floor. Because you have dignity, don't you? You can't fight victimhood with victimhood. The victim ultimately has to come clean and accept responsibility for what they did. And I'm not talking about people who are actually victims of things, okay? Think. I know your IQ might be room temperature, but stay with me here. I know some of you are unable to think statistically in generals and averages and majorities. Seriously, some of you are unable to do that. So what do you do now? You just have to admit that they get away with it. Doesn't that suck? Doesn't it suck that every time you go to hold these people accountable, they just make you feel bad for even trying? But here's something I pointed out in that little skit that I did. It's no longer about just the two of you. Now it's a show, isn't it? It's a performance. And a lot of people get to see a performance. So if everyone is seeing you being angry at someone and someone sniveling and crying and peeing their pants on the floor, throwing out all these excuses about how life for them is just so unfair. Now everybody does the fighting for them against you, to get other people to fight their battles for them. It's an incredibly effective manipulation tool. It's manipulation. It's an effective manipulation tool, and it's scary how effective it is. I just wanted you to admit that you've been lying. But now you're peeing yourself. And everyone in the room is yelling at me. You win. Now you're probably asking yourself, how do you fight that? How do you win against something like that? Well, I'm actually gonna tell you, and the answer is way easier than you think it is. Because you think it, like, wow, that's a really tough situation. How do you fight that? How do you beat something so pathetic? It's what some people on the internet refer to as karma. Now, karma isn't real. It's just the consequences of your actions. If you are unable to acknowledge that you have done something wrong, then you can't grow. You can't be a better person. You will not learn any lessons from anything that happens to you because you think these things have happened to you because poor you. Everyone's just mean and nasty to you for no reason. You need to accept your hand in things that have happened to you to learn from them. But if you don't think you feel you need to learn anything, if you feel like everything is super unfair and it was completely unavoidable, then you're not going to learn anything. And what happens when you don't learn anything? You repeat the same mistakes over and over and over and over because you refuse to learn from your own actions or the consequences of them. So this is why it's super easy to deal with people who play victim professionally in order to get what they want, to get away from things they don't want. Here's how you deal with it. You let karma do it. There's nothing you can do. You're the bad guy now. Anything you say is just bullying. You can't do anything now. It's in the hands of the pagan gods. Whatever these karma types believe in. Karma's not real. It's just consequences. Karma's not real. Consequences are. And if someone is repeatedly suffering all the time, it's because they are suffering their own karma. Again, how you deal with people who play victim professionally. They ruin their own lives. It's amazing. And I'll tell you why it's amazing. Because if you were capable of ruining their life, then you are responsible for that. It's easy to live with, but you are responsible. You are the one who got your revenge, right? And you have to deal with that and live with that. I think I can find a way to forgive myself if I ruin the life of someone who sucks. But it's oh so sweet whenever someone who plays professional victim ruins their own life, because they are always a victim, and stay with me here, of themselves. And they can't convince themselves to leave them alone or to let them get away with things. I don't think this makes sense anymore. Because you've not learned anything, because you refuse to, because you're always the victim and things happen to you rather than you making choices that lead to these things happening to you, then bad things will repeatedly happen to you. So if you're dealing with a professional victim, someone who rarely ever takes accountability, let's face it, never takes accountability, and they've already lost your friendship and they've already lost certain benefits that you used to give them because of the way they acted, but now they're away from you and you were so bad. You were so terrible to them, and now they're away from you because they managed to spin it back on you. That's what they do. They're a victim of you. They try to put the blame on someone else so that they're not the bad guys. It's now all you. But yes, they will become victims of themselves. And you don't have to do anything. You can just sit back, relax, and observe as they ruin their own life, completely, blissfully unaware that it's them doing it. Here's what it looks like. It is someone who, for some reason, despite all statistical relevance, is in a constant state of suffering all the time. It's weird how bad things seem to happen to them more consistently than for anybody else. Like, wow, what is it this week? Oh, wow, that's really crazy. You couldn't have not done that or been there or said that to avoid... Oh, I'm victim blaming now? Right, sorry. Fuck me for trying to hold you accountable. Help you learn something. They will continually make decisions that will ruin their lives because they have learned that they can do whatever they want with no consequences at all. In fact, these professional victim types are probably the most selfish people you will ever meet because they have figured out a way to do and get anything they want and then get away with it because they're so pathetic. How could anyone possibly want to yell or hold you responsible for your actions when you look so pathetic? Ugh. See what I mean? Some people know no shame. They will go as far as they need to get you off their back. They will go as far as they need to stop you from trying to hold them accountable. They will make you look so bad for even trying to do so. There's only so far that you can try to hold these people accountable before they degrade themselves so far that it's cruel of you to even try. Professional victims are super scary. They are very, very powerful. They're very effective. They are professional manipulators. They manipulate people around them to behave in a certain way so that they can weasel out of every situation. But here's the problem with that, as I've already previously mentioned, they eventually, when there's no one left around them, because everybody does leave them eventually. Have you tried living with someone who has no accountability? It's exhausting. They will eventually ruin their own lives. And it's so satisfying because you're not there. They can't blame you anymore. You were nowhere near them. They did that to themselves. And eventually everybody sees that. They do. When the apparently responsible party is no longer there and their life is weirdly still miserable, people start to wake up and they're like, maybe he wasn't the problem. Which is exactly what has happened to Boogie2988. This guy rode the sympathy train and had a bank there too, man. The sympathy train took him to the sympathy bank where he cashed out and spent it on... What did you spend it on again, Boog? Oh, that's super responsible of you, buddy. Yeah, good job. Yeah, the sympathy bank. It eventually dries up. People will get kind of bored when your only skill is self-degradation. You're not actually interesting or skilled or qualified or interesting or smart. No, you just know how to put on a really good, shameful show. And eventually it all comes crashing down. It always does. These people actually arguably have the biggest egos out of anyone. In fact, a lot of these symptoms seem to follow narcissistic personality disorder. They are unable to admit that they have done anything wrong. I don't make mistakes. Everybody else around me makes mistakes. I'm just a victim of their mistakes. But that's not how things work. I make mistakes all the time. I bought Silent Hill 2 Remake on PlayStation 5 and didn't check to see if it was on Steam. It was. But that's for me to deal with, and I took responsibility for that as much as it stung. So listen to me here. If you find yourself being one of these people, if you are a professional victim, if you have weaseled out of situations in your life by pretending to be or feigning to be as pathetic as possible, you have no dignity. Okay? You've not learned anything. People probably don't like you. And let's face it, you've probably learned nothing from this video because you feel like I am victimizing you. Your life will be better as soon as you realize that you are responsible for a lot of the things that happen to you. Not wholly responsible. Look, your level of responsibility and things that happen to you can vary, okay? Sometimes they can be the one to instigate everything that happens to them, and then they're like, I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. You were the one who did everything here. And sometimes they can merely ignore all the risks involved because they were getting something out of the situation. In the right, Berg. This guy sucks. They act so unbelievably pathetic all the time that it would seem unethical to question them about any of it because, oh my god, if anyone sees me questioning this asshole for reals, I will look like I'm bullying them. Look how pathetic they look, crying and peeing themselves on the floor. Anyway, guys, I had a great day today because I made it a great day, and I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.